Imagine I'm planning a road trip to Shiraz. I can enter the distance, my car's fuel consumption, the fuel price, and the number of people traveling with me. And Python automatically calculates how much fuel we need, the total fuel cost, and even how much each person should pay. And today we're going to build this entire program from scratch. Hello, I'm Green, and welcome to the third episode of our Python course. If you want to learn the foundation of Python by actually building something useful, stay with me. By the end of this mini project, you'll have created your very first real Python program. Most programs do three basic things. They receive some information, process that information, and give us a result. Input, calculation, and output. And that's exactly how we're going to build our trip calculation program. While building it, you'll learn how to store information using variables, work with text and numbers, get input from a user, convert data from one type to another, perform calculations, and display the result in a clean and readable way. That may sound a lot, but don't worry, we're not going to memorize a list of definitions. We'll learn each concept exactly when we need it. Let's start by creating a new Python file. I called it tripcalculator.py. First, let's give our program a title. The print function displays something in the terminal, and whatever goes inside the quotation marks will be shown as text. And I call it trip cost calculator. And I also add this line to make our output a little easier to read. Now our program needs some information about the trip. Let's begin with the destination and the distance. Destination is Shiraz, and the distance is 920. And here I created something called variable. You can think of a variable as a labeled box. The label is destination and the value stored inside it is Shiraz. Here the variable is called distance and the value stored inside it is 920. We can use variable's name whenever we need its values. Python remembers what we stored inside it. And if we run this, we're gonna see the values in the terminal. Okay. Try to choose variable names that describe what they contain. A name like distance is much more helpful than something vague like x. Variable names cannot contain spaces, so if we need more than one word, we can separate the words with an underscore. For example, fuel underscore price is equal to $2. This naming style is called snake case, and you'll see it very often in Python. At the moment the destination is written directly inside our code, that means anyone who wants to change it would have to edit the program itself. A better solution is to ask the user for the destination. The input function displays a message, pauses the program, and waits for the user to type an answer. We are gonna replace this with an input function. And now the same program can work with different destinations without changing the code. We can run it to see the result. Here we type Shiraz and it displays Shiraz. Okay. Then we ask for the distance meters, and we'll add our other variables, fuel consumption, 100 kilometers. Okay. Then fuel price, fuel price in liters, and the number of passengers. Great, our program can now collect all the information it needs. But there is a hidden problem. Before we continue, it's time to intentionally break our program. Yes, intentionally. We receive the distance from the user, so we should be able to add 100 to it, right? We write test result variable is distance plus 100, and we want to print this value. And if we run the program and write the variables, apparently we can't. And this is our first real error in this course. But an error doesn't mean we failed. It means Python is trying to tell us exactly what went wrong. We usually start reading an error from the last line. Here Python says we have a type error. It's telling us that we are trying to combine a string with an integer. And if we print the type of this variable, even though I entered the number 920, Python says that the distance is a string. That's because the input function always gives us text. If we want to perform a calculation, we first need to convert that text into a number. Before we fix the error, let's quickly look at the three data types we need in this project. A string represents text. Strings are written between quotation marks. An integer or int is a whole number without a decimal point. And a float is a number that can contain a decimal point. Our destination should remain a string because it's a text. The number of travelers should be an integer. And values like distance and fuel consumption can be floats because they may include decimals. Let's convert the values as soon as we receive them. So we need a float for distance. Can delete these. A float for fuel consumption. Also float for fuel price. And we need integer for the number of passengers. This line may look like a little crowded, so let's read it from inside out. First, input asks the user for a value. Then, float converts the value from text into a decimal number. Finally, the converted number is stored in the distance. We use int for the number of passengers because we expect a whole number. If we again print the type of distance variable, we'll see that it's a float, which means Python can use it in a calculation. Okay, we only needed this line to fix the problem. And now we can delete it and we can remove these lines. Now we have valid numbers, so we can start calculating. Our car's fuel consumption tells us how many liters it uses for every 100 kilometers. To calculate the fuel needed for the entire trip, we multiply distance by the fuel consumption and divide the result by 100. So fuel needed variable is distance multiplied by fuel consumption divided by 100. In Python, an asterisk represents multiplication and a forward slash represents division. To calculate the total fuel cost, we multiply the fuel needed by the price of 1 liter. Fuel price. And finally, we divide the total cost by the number of passengers to find the cost per person. Notice that we stored every result in a clearly named variable. This makes our code much easier to read than writing one enormous calculation. Now we can have a simple output. Just print the result. We can print destination, print fuel needed, print total cost, and cost per person. Technically, our program works, but this output doesn't tell the user what each number means. Let's make it easier to read. The letter F before the quotation marks creates something called an F-string. An F-string allows us to place the value of a variable directly inside a piece of text by putting the variable between curly braces, like this. So, if the destination is Shiraz, Python places the word Shiraz right here. This \n add an empty line before the summary, which makes the output easier to read. So we are gonna edit all our results. This .1 formatting displays the value with exactly one digit after the decimal point. And this one removes the decimal places and adds 1,000 separator. You don't need to memorize these formatting codes. For now, just notice how much cleaner they make the result. Alright, our trip calculator is complete. Let's test the final version. We have our destination, distance, and fuel consumption, fuel price, and also the passengers. And there it is. We need 69 liters of fuel, and the total fuel cost is 138. And if 4 people are traveling, each person should pay $34. We just built our first useful Python program. Along the way, we worked with the strings, integers, and float, converted text into numbers, used arithmetic operators, and learned how to read and fix the type error. Don't try to memorize every line. Focus on understanding how information enters the program, how it changes, and how the final result is produced. Before you leave, I have a small challenge for you. Our program currently calculates the cost of a one-way trip. Can you change it so it calculates the cost of a round trip? You don't need another input. Think about what should happen to the distance when we travel to the destination and then come back. And if you want an extra challenge, ask the user for accommodation and road toll costs and include them in the total. If you complete the challenge, tell me in the comments which line you changed. Okay, now what happens if we change the program a little bit? We still want to go to Shiraz, and this time we change the number of passengers to 0. Here we will have a new type of error called zero division error. There's still one big problem. Our program accepts anything the user enters, even 0 travelers. Right now, it doesn't know how to make decisions or respond differently to different situations. In the next episode, we'll learn how Python makes decisions using if, elif, and else. And we'll use them to build an interactive quiz that recommends a programming path based on the user's interests. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Stay green and keep coding.